So let's talk about the Ottawa Rough Riders. You were born in Britain.
Yes.
You were born in southwestern Ontario.
Clifford.
You were born in Ottawa.
Yay.
When did the Ottawa Rough Riders become your team?
What, the first check? Well, I was a kid and then going to high school and watching people like Mike Bloom, who had played here. And he was kind of an idol. He was about 4 or 5 years older than me, went to Laurentian High School. And
But he was a linebacker.
he was a linebacker too, but I had no aspirations of being a linebacker. And certainly I had never dreamed that I could compete with somebody like Mike. And as it turned out, I couldn't because he was so big and tough and strong. But I used to watch him, and I liked his hustle. I liked his never giving up and his fortitude, hit hard.
Did you end up playing with him and or against?
Against, I think it was with Hamilton in '68 when I came in, and anyhow, being both defensive players and also in '68, you got to remember when you just start out, you don't start unless you're an all-star player. So I was watching them, but
The merit
special teams. Oh yeah, it takes time to get there.
John, did you grow up a Hamilton fan?
No, I grew up as an Argo fan.
Oh, that's worse.
An Argo fan to the core. And I didn't become an Ottawa fan until I was traded here from the Alouettes in 1970.
And who did you get traded for?
Gene Gaines and
Hall of Famer.
the Hall of Famer, and also myself and Rod Woodward came here for Gene Gaines and Terry Black, a running back.
So when you came here in that trade, was that good news or bad news?
That was bad news, really. Initially, it was bad news because I thought maybe I had something in Montreal. It was a good last half of the season there, and but once I came to Ottawa, met Frank Clare, talked contract with him.
No, wait a minute. Is this the good news or the bad news?
Oh, it was good news for a while. No. We talked contract. It wasn't an agreement, but then I went down the hall to meet the head coach, Jack Goda, and I was supposed to go back to see Frank. And I didn't go back. I drove back to Toronto where I was living at the time, and I'd got a call the next day from Frank Clare, said, you didn't come by to sign your contract. And I said, I'm not signing the contract unless I can assure you that, or you can assure me that I have a teaching job in Ottawa. I had teaching credentials. And I said, that's why I didn't come in and sign. I wanted to be reassured that that can happen. Well, God, in 3 days, I got a phone call from the Ottawa board, and they hired me on the phone. Never, ever thought that would ever happen that quickly. So initially I thought, hey, Frank Clare's got a lot of pull here. Then we created another opinion as we played throughout the years.
Now, eventually you got traded again away from Ottawa and for another Hall of Famer.
Another Hall of Famer, Tony Gabriel.
So you're the guy who's responsible for the 1976 Grey Cup.
Probably I have some, I have a little skin in that game, yes.
So how did you feel then?
I was in the stadium when they won the cup. I had retired. And who did I meet coming down the runway? Just he and I on the runway was John Diefenbach. We met head on. I shook hands. He says, and who are you, sir? I told him, and then a whole crowd gathered around, and I sort of had to disappear into the crowd. But my first meeting of John Diefenbaker, I told him that I was born six miles from the town he is born in southern Ontario. He wasn't impressed because we didn't talk too much longer.
Diefenbaker, Tony Gabriel, and Gene Gaines.
And Gene Gaines, yeah.
Doesn't get any better, does it?
Well, in a short period of time, yeah. Yeah, I'm not a tall poppy in that story, but...
Jerry, you were born in Britain.
Cheltenham, Gloucestershire, actually.
So when did you switch football to footballs?
Yes, indeed. I was an adequate young soccer player, but there were no takers because there's 400 young guys competing for 2 spots on a football team, every football team in Britain. So that wasn't going to work too well, but I did play a little soccer here in Canada initially, and but by literally the grace of God, I got a scholarship to the University of Guelph.
As a football player?
No, just an academic scholarship.
Let's try that again. So what kind of scholarship was it you got?
An academic scholarship, yes, from the high school I was graduating from, and they paid my a substantial amount for my first 4 years at Guelph. So I got to Guelph, and of course they had teams for everybody, right? So instead of choosing the soccer team, I thought I'd like to try something different. So I tried the football team. So I suited up for the first practice, and they had an exercise called the bull in the ring. And you just jogged around a circle, and every time the coach called your number, you had to go in and hit the biggest guy that was standing in the center to take everybody else out. So I went in there, and I didn't have a clue how to hit anybody with anything. So I went up there with my hands like this, and they hit his face guard, and I was bruised for weeks after that.
And so that's when you decided place kicking was for you?
No. Actually, I didn't, because when I first started place kicking in Canada, they wouldn't let me kick soccer style. They said, we don't do that here. You know, I had to use my toe. That changed very quickly once I got to the Guelph Griffins, and had 4 successful years there. And I certainly owe them a great deal of gratitude for preparing the way for my future with the CFL. But of course, it wasn't easy. Garney Henley was our coach, and I thought, there's a ticket, he'll get me in somewhere. But he wouldn't take me to Hamilton because Tommy Joe Coffey was the kicker there, and he didn't want to alienate his buddy. So nothing happened for the longest time. And then out of the blue, without my really giving a hoot about playing professional football after that, I just, I wrote 4 teams to say, if you're interested, I'm a kicker and punter, and they all basically declined. Thank you very much, but no thanks. Weeks later, I suspect that the Hamilton guy I was just talking about,
Garney Hanlon?
Garney had a change of heart. He must have alerted Frank Clare that I was still around, because Frank Clare then sent me a contract unsolicited to join the practice squad, to go to training camp. So I said to Lori, my wife, I said, Lori, I've got this opportunity to go to training camp in Ottawa. Don't know anything about the team, know anything about the city. I'm going to go. I'll be back in 2 weeks, because it's a 2-week training camp, right? So it turned out that I stayed for 12 years, and that was a long story between that gap and the other. But anyway, that was the story how I got to the team.
Yeah, we were all in that training camp in 1971. That was my rookie year. Yeah. John, you were still it?
Yeah. And that was my first year.
In the middle of my career.
Exactly. I think everybody, that's looking back on careers as long as ours, everybody has their favorite team for one reason or another. Were the Ottawa? No. Oh. Looking back at the teams we've played for, I think everybody, for one reason or another, has a favorite. Is it accurate to say that Ottawa was your favorite?
It was for me. I went to BC in '74 after trying out for the World Football League and missing making that team. So Eagle Keys and Jackie Parker had gotten a hold of me and were interested, if I was interested, to go out there. And we played out there and had a tremendous offensive team. We won our first 5 or 6 games, and then our quarterback broke his hand in a bar fight. And
Something that would never happen in Ottawa.
no, we had guys that could really had tough fists. They wouldn't break it.
Wow.
So then we started going down a bit, but we had great defenses out there. But definitely Ottawa was my home team, and that was the one that I had a lot of success with.
John, what was your attachment when it was all over to the Rough Rider?
Well, it would be my choice of a team and a city to live in.
Yeah, you played for Hamilton. You played for Montreal. What were the factors?
Well, Montreal, too big. I had to drive half an hour, 45 minutes to get to the stadium. Just too big. Hamilton, nice place to visit. Wouldn't want to live there. No, I saw my first football games, CFL games in Hamilton. But Ottawa, small city, I could use my talents to get into the field of education, become an education administrator. And it's still today, above and beyond any of the other cities I've had any experience with.
And how would you describe at that time the Rough Riders as a team, as an institution?
Part of the community. It seemed to be, while it really at that time was the only game in town, you couldn't compare it to Montreal and Montreal.
There was no
Canadiens.
hockey, nothing. There was
Toronto,
baseball.
and it was a community centered team, and everybody seemed to know you on the streets. Not that you wanted to be recognized all the time, but it had such a good home feeling. Small town guy, it was the right city for me.
This is our 50th anniversary of that 73 Grey Cup. Every 10 years since then, we've had a reunion. 73, 83, 93, 03, 13 was the last one. That reunion, I went for a walk around Lansdowne, where TD Place was arising. Wellesley, come sit down.
I thought we were going to make it.
We thought the same thing. But here you are. So we were talking about Ottawa. Ottawa as a place to play football, the Rough Riders as a team to play with. You went to, in the same trade that John went to Hamilton from Ottawa, you went to Hamilton. How would you compare?
I think I was one of the lucky ones. I was one of the kids come out of Belleville, Ontario, high school, put the high school camp. Jack Godin sent me down to the States, came back from Colorado or Tennessee to try out as a rookie, basically in Ottawa. And Ottawa's sort of always been the place where if I was ever going to make it was going to be this place. And I did. I didn't have a bad career. I didn't have a great career. But
Hey, come on. We were also just talking about something Mark Cosmos said to me. Our dear departed pal, the middle linebacker, number 50, Cos, captain of the 76 Grey Cup team. And we went for a walk around TD Place as it was being built during our 40th reunion,
Right.
2013. And we were talking about the team, and Cos had played for 3 CFL teams at that point. And he said that he thought the great thing about Ottawa football and the Ottawa Rough Riders is that these were teams of character and characters, which was absolutely true because he was talking about himself, I think, because he fell into both categories.
He was part of it.
Yeah.
He was part of it. Yeah,
Is there truth to that?
Well, I came in as a rookie in the 70s, and some of the guys who were hanging around here, Subi Campbell and Kaz, and not Kaz at that point wasn't there, but just some of the players around in those periods of time. It was a different crowd of people. We just wouldn't expect to see those guys on a football team. They just,
They epitomized what the coach was. He was.
Well, yeah,
He was pretty
you had Brett
loose.
Cottle, you had God, you had Jay Fry, and we only had 3 coaches.
Yeah.
That was it. And
One too many.
yeah, it was an interesting team, to say the least. And to say characters was a loose term. I don't know how you can classify it as unusual or just unique.
Well, if Rick Casada were here, looking at the rest of the table, I would say, okay, there are 2 characters, and the rest of the guys have character. But there are 2 guys who are characters. Which 2 would I have been referring to?
Rick Casada, Woody.
I'm thinking of this table.
Oh, this table.
This table.
This table? This table?
And not yourself.
Is there a third category?
I have glasses. The guy next to
The 2 guys with the glasses.
The guy they called Mad Dog.
Yeah, and the guy that got all the hair still. I still don't know how you can keep that.
Well, Jerry definitely has character. There's no question about that. And Crust was a public school principal. So
Bob, going back to the character, though, I think if you went into any football locker room in North America, the diversity of character and the funny guys, the tough guys, the angry guys, they're all there, right, on a team. So, that's one thing that definitely stands out. You get to know the character of your locker room pretty quickly.
And that was very evident with Crust and I when we went to Hamilton in that trade. And I remember walking in the dressing room for time. My locker, get this, he saw Anceloska.
Did he hit you?
He said, I didn't hit you enough. That was his conduct. But Mosca was one of the funniest guys I ever been around.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't think anybody thought that he was like that.
Not when it was
No, that was funny.
if you had to line up against him, which I did, I remember the first time my rookie
original Angry
year.
Bird.
First time my rookie year, I faced Angelo, and I was snapping
Oh, yeah.
for a kick of some sort, and he was the nose tackle right on me. And I weighed about 230, and he weighed like 290. And it was literally the first snap of the new season, and I snapped the ball, and then all of a sudden I saw blue, green, blue, green. I was going head over heels, and we ended up, I was on my back, and Mosca was on top of me, face mask to face mask. And he said, I've been waiting all winter to do that.
Well,
And I believed him.
let me add to that story, because the same guy, obviously after he hit you, would back up a few steps because he didn't want to run and wait for me to cross the line of scrimmage so he could take me out as a second shot. He didn't like kickers.
He didn't like anybody, man. I remember the first time I carried the ball in Hamilton in preseason. It was probably the first game I played in as a running back. And I remember sitting on the sidelines. I hadn't played. I was on the kickoff team. That's all I was at that point. And he says, Wellesley, in the tailback. I go, oh, shit. Gary,
Were you ready?
Gary Wood was the quarterback. And Gary Wood is in there, and he says, Wellesley, this one's to you. He's running it off tackle over Mosca.
Perfect.
Mo Lucine said, this come with Mo Lucine. Mo says, Wellesley, I'm going to take him outside. You better go inside. If you don't, you're dead. This is in the huddle.
Really? That's a long huddle.
Game. First time I was actually a player on the field.
How did you do?
I went 30 yards up the middle.
Yeah, in a situation like that, you run the fastest you've ever run in your life.
Reality check.
And it's all where he You know, it was all speed and fear written all over it. That's all it was. The only guy that got me was Garney Henry.
Arnie.
Yeah, he's a featherweight for a hitter.
Oh, was it still got
He'll catch you.
he got it. I'm sorry.
So in 1973, it doesn't look like we're going anywhere.
No.
We're 0-4 in our first 4 games. And the season before, we'd had the best record in the CFL, 11-3. So we come into the 73 season, we've got Rico and Jerry Keeling, a Hall of Famer at quarterback. We've got Huey Oldham and Rome Nixon and Tom Pullen and Jim Foley and Terry Wellesley as
had Art Green at that
receivers. We got Art in that season.
Yes, that's what.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
We had capital punishment, the most imposing defense in the league with the best name, by the way.
My wife thinks that's the best thing.
3 all-star
linebackers.
So how was it that we started 0-4?
Competence, incompetence. We didn't get any. There was nothing gelling as a team.
No, I think,
Everybody,
but we didn't lose by a lot. No, but 4 games we lost.
yeah, but that's the whole point of character, isn't it? It's not knowing how to lose by a little.
Yeah.
It's absolutely.
The turnaround came after a flight home, after the 4th loss. The first practice we had after that, Jack got in front of the whole team before we went out on the field to practice, and he said, "The owner and the GM want," and he named 4 names: you, and you, all cut or traded, all of you. And we're talking about a starting quarterback,
I remember that.
wide receiver. I forget who they all were, but anyhow, and he said, "I'm not going to let that happen because in my contract it says I have the power to keep the players I want, and you can't cut them." He had some kind of a clause. Now, I don't know if this was true or he was saying that to get us fired up. But after that, I think we lost one more game after that.
Yeah, that's right.
And we were playing for him, I think, because of the backing he showed for us.
Well, and that was also when the Southside Stands had picked up the "Gotta's Gotta Go" chant, which was everywhere for those games.
Well, we won 5 in a row before we lost. I think we lost to Montreal.
But
and
that
then,
fifth,
and then we won out.
I can remember God saying in the dressing room before that 5th game we were on the field, is you've lost 4 straight. We lose 5. We're going to have to make some changes that I don't want to do. I can remember him saying that before we were out there.
Now, I remember that when we came back from the Western Swing, when we had lost the 4th of our 4 straight games, Rico was our starting quarterback. And he didn't show up for a while. First of all, he missed the flight from Saskatchewan and didn't get back with the rest of us. And then he didn't come to practice. And coupled with Jack's ominous statements, we were fearing the worst. Do you remember when he did come back, when he eventually showed up, which was like a couple of days and missed practices later?
I think I recall.
I do. I remember coming back.
He had injured his throwing shoulder, and he couldn't lift his arm up. He was in such pain. And in the middle of our meeting, he burst through the door saying, "Oh, look at I can play." He went to an acupuncturist, and
Over in Quebec, right?
And everybody was like me, and they thought, "Oh, Rick's been at the Prescott drinking Matisse Rosé. He's drunk."
I thought he got it in the head because he was psycho at that time.
I tore my sternum in Toronto, and I couldn't lift my arms up. And Rico had done his shoulder thing. So I don't know where to go to or like how to got this guy. Got this acupuncture guy from Hall. So he sends us over to this guy. We both walk in, and Rico looks at me, and I look, "Oh, you first." and then all of a sudden,
Do I have to?
I felt definitely better, and I was in practice the next day. And then just to your comment, when he walks in, and he folds his arms up, and he's, "My shoulder is healed. My shoulder is healed," from the acupuncture.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was there. I saw your shoulder. There was to do.
Well, we won what? All but and all of the games that season after that day, except for one. And we finished first.
They carried in next year.
We won the Eastern Final against Montreal, and we won the Grey Cup against Edmonton.
Yep.
Acupuncture? Are you?
That was a great period. That was that half year where we were 4 down, had to come back, didn't change anybody in the team at that point. Think about it. We didn't change anybody. The same guys all went forward to the next round. And then I think Green came in later on. But then the following year, we were devastated.
So let's say in 1973.
Well, the following year, the World Football League came, and a lot of guys left for the World Football League,
So
including the coaches.
what are our memories of the game itself?
73?
Yeah. Well, actually, let me ask you another question first. All right, it's 73. We feared the worst. We looked death in the face.
We were 3 or 4 points.
And all of a sudden we were first place, won the Eastern Final, and got to the Cup. What was our feeling? Jerry, you were a mature man at that point.
I was scoring all the points for y'all.
That's right.
Yeah, our feeling was, let's get to the 45, and then we got 3 points.
Claim to fame was
We'll 3 them to
I
death.
got the flea flicker that got us out of bounds to get him a field goal.
Yeah.
That's right.
My feeling was that we weren't going to lose. That was the feeling. I played defense, and we had a really good, tight group on defense. I didn't start most of the games, but I got my chance to go in. But even when I played ferociously as I could, as hard as I could, never gave up. You don't get tired. You just keep playing beyond that because the guy beside you's doing the same thing and he's playing hard.
Yeah.
And you don't want to let him down. And that's how it works. You don't let the guy beside you down, and you play.
You're a good set of linebackers.
play your,
The scoring place, all right? Our first touchdown, do you remember it?
is this in the Grey Cup?
Yes, in that Grey Cup. Our first touchdown,
Running back.
Rome. Rome
Oh,
Nixon.
he wasn't a running back. He was a
No,
receiver.
no, he. The first
one touchdown was scored by
our first touchdown was scored by Rome.
yeah.
It was a 38-yard
That's right.
pass, and it was Rome being Rome. I mean,
Yeah.
he is that lanky,
Oh yeah,
shifty guy
great.
Beating Cooper.
who had been our teammate until a couple of
He
weeks
was
earlier.
defensive back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And he'd be
and
Cooper went. That's right.
and the second score was Evie.
Yeah.
28 yards right up the gut.
He ran over at least 4 people at the end there.
I was in there. I was into that play on the slot back, and I think I was.
You were one of the guys he ran over.
Yeah, he was basically, but he ran over 4 or 5 guys. I mean, they could not knock him down.
And the field goal kicker, what was his name?
I don't know.
Oregon. That was it.
On the last play of the first half,
Kicked the longest field goal in Grey Cup history.
at that point, 46 yards, yeah. But that put us ahead at the half.
See the actually go to the agricultural school?
Yeah.
Guelph
The
A&T.
Aggies. The Aggies.
So then in the second half, Jerry gets another field goal,
Yeah, 3.
and
That was later in the game.
it was in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. It actually gave us the cushion we needed because they ended up scoring 8 points late, but it wasn't enough.
Now, I remember a play, at least I think I remember a play, and being an offensive lineman, that's, somewhat suspect to begin with. But it was Rico to Art Green, right on the sideline.
It was a swing pass. And he went about 40 yards, 38, 40 yards.
Yeah, but it looked like he was going to go for like -2. He got hit almost at the line of scrimmage, bounced back. Caesar Belzer, the big corner linebacker, came up, and Art's a muscular guy, but he wasn't as big as Belzer. And Art just got around him and got the yardage that put us well into their zone, and that's when you kick the field goal. And all of those put together won the game for us.
Yeah, well, field position was very helpful for a field goal kicker, as you know.
I didn't think you were going out of bounds. When they went out of bounds, that flea flicker to Ron Nixon, set up the field goal. It's a win.
Yeah.
Didn't take much.
But the beauty was we had a field goal kicker that was basically automatic. Automatic. You all through the season, you bailed us out so often.
What was your percentage of that?
Thank you for that.
No, okay. In that season? Well, the highest percentage I had was 85%.
You got it when we needed.
Yes.
Yeah.
You the fourth quarter, you didn't. I don't think you missed in the fourth
No, it was
quarter.
fun.
So,
Great deal of fun.
What do you recall about the end of the game and the aftermath? Honestly, I don't recall much. You'd think you'd recall the celebration, the sheer joy. I don't. I kind of like a missing 5 minutes or 10 minutes afterwards, where it's just total mystery. What like? Can you? Somebody, please take me through the end of the game.
I've got a picture on the video that there was a quiet reality that the game was over. It wasn't like a stunning nothing. It was just like a quiet reality. And then all of our guys started rushing toward one end of the field, like to celebrate. And so that was very quiet, though, relatively speaking.
Crosby and Cos and somebody else in a picture, three of you, with the cup in your head. You had the cup on his head. I'd imbibed a little too much, real quick. I watched Soupy drink, and there is a picture of my eyes watching Soupy drinking, and then I'd had my own bottle, and I poured it all into the cup and just raised it over my head, and it was all over the place.
John, you raised a good point. You know, and throughout the history of all sports, when they win championships, you get champagne and you spray it all around. We drank it.
I definitely drank it.
That shows the intelligence of the team.
Absolutely.
Mentality.
Yes.
I go with mentality more than intelligence.
Well, what I remember, the only thing I remember is sort of going to the center of the field, for wherever we were when the game was over, and just yelling, like 360 degrees, yelling at everybody, yelling at the gods, just, baying at the moon, whatever it was. I'm a fairly mild-mannered guy. I haven't done that often.
I didn't see that part of you.
No, it's
When Morrissey and Wayne Giardino were being presented the cup by, was it Trudeau?
no Prime Minister. Yeah, no Prime Minister. The first Prime Minister. Governor in general.
The Governor General. That's right. It was 68, 69. I was okay.
Right? No, it was Trudeau the next year.
Okay. But anyhow,
Bob,
that was good.
To talk about, because you'll know more about the details than I do, but Edmonton appeared in 9 straight Grey Cups around that time, starting with us, I believe. And they only lost 1 game of those 9.
I know, it's remarkable.
Something like that. They won like 6 or 7.
They had a pretty good picture to depend upon.
Oh, I know. He was my competitor all through my career. Dave. Yeah.
Well, those are days of Gordon Moon.
Yeah.
Because he turned the quarter.
First, it was the days of Wilkie and
Wilkie first one. He got a bit of Wilkie. Not a great film.
Okay, do you remember the quarterbacks? Do you remember the quarterback that came in and played only 1 year, I think, and he threw for over 500 yards in 1 game? For us, on our team. You don't remember it. Really tall, a great athlete. He threw, in 1 game, he threw for over 500 yards, and nobody's, to my knowledge, has done that before. So, I can't
J.C.
remember.
Watts, Conrad. Who are we talking about?
What year?
Well, it was obviously early in my career, for sure. He came in, I would say, in the first, in the mid 70s or that. 1 year he came in. He was kind of he just came in. Nobody knew him, and all of a sudden the coaches put him out there, and he threw for over 500 yards. You don't remember that game? Wow, it was amazing. Every time he threw a pass, somebody like you caught the ball, and it was just a blowout.
What happened for the second game?
I don't know if he played the second game. I don't know. I think I know what you're talking about.
So, guys, we have to wrap this up. I'm sorry, but
That's great.
So 50 years later.
Really?
50. half a century. How can that possibly be? Does it feel like that?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm with Dad. 50 years of what, Mom?
2 replaced hips.
Yeah, let's face it. It's a beautiful game, but it's brutal.
Yes.
But if it was 10 years ago, I
And
probably
they-
would have remembered the name of the quarterback.
And you know what? And then
You look at the team picture, which is a great team picture. It pops with color, and the faces are also vivid. All told, players, coaches, trainers, front office people, there are 46 guys in that picture. Today, as we celebrate our 50th anniversary, there are 20 players who are still alive.
However, of the 46 that were in the picture, they weren't all players. We only had rosters of 34. We had a 34-man roster.
Mortality rate among the non-players is actually worse than among the
still alive.
players.
He's the only one.
Jay? Yeah. And Jay, unfortunately, has said his regrets. He's been at every other reunion. He was going to bring his 2 kids, who are like 50 years old. Jay is 94. And we got a jersey for him. That's it. It's Fry 94, obviously. And we'll have to give it to him.
When he gets up here.
Yes, exactly.
Now, he sent his love to all the guys.
Special invite. Bring him back up for alumni meeting.
I think that's it.
Well, he was planning to come here up until about a week ago, and
Yeah.
then he had a little stumble and sent him back. But
as I was saying, it's a beautiful game. It's brutal. And I don't know if I've coined the phrase, but I call it brutiful. It's a brutal game. We can't get away from that. We can't say that it's the cause of premature deaths of some of our teammates. It probably has been for some of them. We all suffer some way.
Yeah, no question about that. Whether it's osteoarthritis or traumatic brain injury,
Arthritis, hips, knees. Even early dementia can be a factor.
So think of it, but I choose to think of it this way. We had that wonderful moment when our football careers came to their peak, and we played in the Grey Cup, and we won the Grey Cup, and we did it with a great group of guys.
It wasn't supposed to be happening.
Yeah, it was against all odds. Well, you know what? Here we are, 50 years later.
we're against all odds.
Against all odds, we're still here, and we're going to have another dozen or more of our teammates tonight.
Yeah.
Certainly looking forward to the 60th.
Does the sun always shine where you live?
You're an optimistic guy.
In order to have a 60th, we've got to destruct and construct a whole new stadium that's going to take several years.
Yeah, exactly.
And hey, it's on schedule.
That's politics.
It's the last
50 more.
50 more.
All right.
It's
more.
very-
There's
It
the
has
last
been. It's been.
none
It's
like
been
us,
great.
Damn few, and they're all dead.
Champagne tastes like water.